the next government to handle. We will call all stakeholders together. We'll call the civil society organizations together, and all of us will decide what we want to do with our gold royalties. Because gold is a blessing from God. It has been given to us from Axim all the way to Boko. If you go into the ground, you'll find gold. And so we need to use it in such a way that it benefits all our people. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to be president for all Ghanaians. And we will use the resources of this country to benefit all our people.
So you heard the former President John Dramani Mahama. This was late last night, and he has been specific on the concerns he wants to be addressed. Let me start with you, Haruna, because I know 2 days ago you addressed the news conference. First of all, walk us through the key concerns you have, because there are other pressing questions that majority of Ghanaians would want your office to address.
The Nana Dankwa government, again in their endless borrowing spree, is seeking to mortgage Ghana's gold royalties for 15 years, or call it perpetuity as the documents first got to earth, to raise some $1 billion US, but immediately $500 million US for that purpose. Now they have formed 2 companies, a shell company in the Channel Island in Jesse, and then a Japa in Ghana. And you should be interested in when a Japa was even registered in Ghana on or about 9th, 10th August thereabout. Now, Ghana is endowed with oil, gas, and mining resources, and the resources are not infinite. And gold royalties, from my reading, from 10 oil companies in Ghana, makes a contribution of about 4% to our GDP in revenue, our national revenue, 4% of our national revenue. Now, we are demanding as a minority evaluation of our gold assets. What is the word? You just cannot say a Japa 51-49% and think that that is right. In their usual tit and tat politics, they've gone to reference an initiative of Minister Dufour, then at Finance Minister, called Ghana Gold, or Ghana Gold Company. Yeah. For all intents and purposes, that was a wholly owned 100% government company. So to start with, the facts are not the same and the narratives are not the same. So don't even compare it to a Japa. But even more importantly, that was abandoned. It was not pursued. So Nana Addo Dankwa must simply abandon a Japa. Now it is estimated that given our level of gold production today, we get between $115 million US to $130 million US per annum from the production of gold. You want to borrow $1.5 billion when you can just be earning what you earned without any encumbrance, no financial obligation. What is a better thing to do economically? Then 2, we raise legal issues in the Constitution, particularly under Article 1815. Where are the terms and conditions of this agreement? Our leadership of the Finance Committee, led by Atu Forson and his colleagues, the Honorable Jinapo and Adongo and Co., with Honorable Richard Achampon, raised fundamental questions as to where is the prospectus? Because under Article 1815, you are not just approving an agreement, but the terms and conditions of the agreement. You cannot be tying the hands of a state to 15 years and even say that the chief executive officer cannot be changed. I mean, that's laughable. What kind of law is that? So if you are not performing, the theory of fair and high, you are not delivering, you are not competent, does not apply. So yet you are supposed to operate on sound business practices. That defeats that particular purpose. So for us, we smell an elephant fraud in Ejapa, and we smell an attempt to siphon in the name of mortgaging or monetization money, which raises other issues of money laundering. And already we are not looking too good under Nana Akufo-Addo in terms of our money laundering regime. And therefore, we are asking, if you say $1 billion US, our goal assets is not less than $2 billion US, even current value. But let's have an independent evaluation of it. Now, transparency. How was the procurement undertaken? Who got what? Who got legal fees? Who got paid for what? We need to know. You see, Nana Akufo-Addo should stop running this country as if he's running a political party. Ghana is a state and a republic, not MPP as in a party. And therefore, when we demand those questions, like his Minister of Finance, that is going to meet civil society. As important as civil society groups are, the political minority is important, because the truth must always rest with the minority.
I'll come to you, because there are some key questions I want you to address for the interest of the public. But Joyce, let me take this reaction from you. There was a lot of noise raised by the minority. They demonstrated that
you call it noise.
I'm using it figuratively.
I'm objecting to it.
Okay, absolutely. So I withdraw it. Okay. And there was a lot of protest by the minority. Now I'm speaking.
That's a better way. Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much, Minority Leader. He's trying to exercise his powers, even in my office. But I take it. The minority demonstrated a lot of reaction or resentment towards the.
And before Joyce coming, you just reminded me of a very important legal constitutional issue. The Japan deal is predicated on an amendment to the Mineral Income Investment Fund. Which bill have gone through an amendment, yet we are assented to by the president. So what is the indecent haste? You are taking an agreement on a law, not yet passed. Take any law, a RIS, passed by Parliament, assented to by the President. Read Article 106 of the Constitution very well. In particular, Clause 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. When you have no presidential assent, you have no law. And then we are told that pass it and wait for assent.
I'll come to Auntie Joyce, because what you have said just triggers a question I had wanted to ask. If a bill is presented before Parliament, what does the workings of Parliament say? Do you have the privilege to ask, let's say, the Attorney General to come before you to explain into detail
when you have an Attorney General?
And did you have the privilege to do that?
Describe an agreement as unconscionable, yet a government is still pursuing it. Under Article 88 of the Constitution, his principal legal advisor to government, and he raised 28 fundamental critical questions on this issue, and the answers to them remain unsatisfactory. But if you read their own narrative, they probably even took the decision before they asked the Attorney General to give them advice. Interesting.
But for the records, if Parliament, as a committee,
we can always demand
it. But could you have done it? Was it
we're given only 4 hours. The lady that they were about to rise, we had raised issue. I listened to Deputy Minister of Finance Charles Eduboyin, the Honorable, and then he said it took them 2 years to negotiate the deal, but it took Parliament 4 hours to approve it. What an interesting country! 2 years to negotiate and understand a transaction. Then the Parliament of Ghana, representatives of the people, have 4 hours to scrutinize it. And in the course of scrutiny, we say, give us prospectus. Let's know who are behind Ajepa. Lift the veil. Lift the veil. All those unanswered. But you know, in Ghana, you now have what you call mobocracy, mob rule. When you have those numbers in Parliament, you can do as you
well. You heard the Minority Leader Harun Idris. Now, just I wanted to ask. Government says, I'm now going to listen to CSOs. Minority protested. They didn't listen. They were able to rush the bill through Parliament. And we hear they even want to go and engage traditional leaders. Is it a face-saving attempt? What should Ghanaians look out for so that people are not influenced to create an impression of an approved deal?
Ghanaians should demand accountability. Ghanaians should demand that the right thing be done. Ghanaians should actually also know that we have the Constitution, we have the Companies Act, which all provide guidelines and regulations to such transactions. that at the bane of all of these conversations is a lack of transparency and accountability to the good people of Ghana. Indeed, when you speak about the approach of the minority in Parliament, it leaves us in no doubt, for example, that there was some urgency to the manner in which the majority approached this conversation. That if Parliament did not have the requisite opportunity, especially our minority in Parliament, to vet, to investigate, to demand answers to pertinent questions, then something is wrong. But don't forget, this is a government that always runs around the most salient facts. Remember that even in the past, when you had matters to do with the Electoral Commission and with the registration, if you recall, all the main decisions were made long before these conversations started. I believe it is a similar gimmick that now that they have been caught pants down, that the finance minister is now probably conscious of the fact that the citizens of Ghana are aware that this is a huge fraud that is going to be perpetrated against the good people of Ghana. I have also heard some traditional rulers who have spoken out against this particular Ajapa deal. It tells you that the consultations were inadequate. It tells you that the consultations were not far-reaching. It tells you that the law, in essence, has not been duly followed as expected. In any case, they have numbers. So certainly whenever these conversations become a subject or are reduced to a vote, we do know that the majority will definitely hold sway. But is that really the purpose of our constitution? I think not. I am comfortable with the fact that the minority in Parliament has done a yeoman's job. That in consent with what the good people of Ghana dictate that Parliament should do, they have played a watchdog role. They have raised very, very critical questions that demand answers. They have also indicated a preparedness to go the full hog to demand accountability from Akufo-Addo and his ministers. I believe strongly that if this Japa were a personal business, a private business, that even more due diligence could have been carried out. But let's ask a question. What is it that we do not have time to discuss? What is the emergency or urgency attached to this particular deal? What is the conversation that we could not have waited for Parliament to return from recess so that we can even go along and discuss it?
All right.
I believe that just as President Mahama has said, this is a matter that demands that citizens must ask questions, demand accountability, demand even better transparency. Above all, government must know that they are accountable to the people.
I will still stay with you, Auntie Joyce. I know the minority leader has another very important meeting this morning and should be leaving us now. But before he walks away, I deliberately put this question there for him. Now, do you also, I'm directing this question to you, Haruna Idrisu, do you also agree that we need a new legislation to protect the source, that's our resource, and an effective way of managing our extractive industry?
You need good leadership.
Exactly. We
have already led the way. If you recall, President Mills of blessed memory signed Ghana onto the Extractive Industry EITI initiative for greater accountability and the resources and revenue of oil and our natural resources. So we need leadership. Now, what legislation again do you need? And then two, Joyce related to it. There is a mineral development fund established by the NDC, President Mahama, in 2016, as it then was. Now, in that formula, traditional authorities and communities in mining areas benefit from the mineral royalties. With Ejapa, what happens to those communities? Take the gold city of Obuasi and take another mining city of Takwa. What is it that they have gained from those huge returns from those resources? So I think that we can only re-echo the position of President Mahama that the transaction be suspended. There must be further consultation, and even more importantly, what will they use the $500 million for? The indication is $500 million for what? For what purpose?
Infrastructure.
Which infrastructure?
Roads.
Which
Hospitals,
infrastructure?
Schools.
You know, someday Ghanaians will pay a price, as Professor Adai have written. Free senior high school. You spend 745 million or 860 million on fiscal infrastructure and education of oil revenue, then you spend 14 million only on health. The disproportionate allocation of those resources can be worrying for the future of the country. And we must be careful. We are not investing just in literacy and numeracy, because statistically, not many of those graduates from senior high school make it up the ladder, and therefore many of them will end at the level of literacy and numeracy, regrettably. Because I haven't seen more than 51% of them pass. So substantial numbers may just be on those issues. And I think that President Mahama also spoke about the 10 billion roll down initiative. What percentage of that? See this government, 1 billion COVID resources, how was it spent? And he's saying that I want to target 1 million jobs, 250,000. It will come from forestry and logging. It will come from ICT and others. And then for the Upper West region, as I listened to Excellency John Dramani Mahama at the One Nas Palace, the NDC initiated a number of irrigation projects under President Mahama, Tamni in the Upper East region. Yesterday, he repeated Kamba in the Upper West region. You want to revolutionize and transform agriculture in this region, the secret is in the Kamba irrigation dam. From President Nkrumah up till date, not significant work have been done. I remember recalling and asking the Irrigation Development Authority to undertake some study of it, to guide me, to advise President Mahama then, when I was Minister for Trade, to do it. So Umprem in the central region, Amate in the eastern region, Sabari Pagaza in the northern region, and then Kamba in the upper west region are all manifesto pledges that President Mahama will do. And for the first time in many years, the funding will come from Ghana Exim, established by President Mahama and the NDC. Now we also have a new initiative of President Mahama, which will be Smart ICT Youth, which will also be announced in our manifesto. And we'll finance it from the Ghana Investment Fund for Electronic Communication. See these youngsters, they demonstrate a lot of knowledge and acumen in IT. We need to develop champions in it. And we need to develop Ghanaian champions in IT application. That's where Ghana is lacking. Infrastructure we've done, the laws we have done. But we need to identify young people who would lead as champions in IT application. The NDC and President Mahama promises that 10 of such young people will be identified in each region and trained both within and outside Ghana to lead that particular process. Imagine a Ghanaian who could just give you a software to watch all the tourism sites in Ghana. Brilliant initiative. It brings in revenue to the government. It improves the quality of life of that particular young person. So overall, I'm very impressed with the tour of the Upper West region so far, and I think that the seats are recovering, if not significantly recovered. In partisan politics, a day is always a millennium. We still need to do much work. We need to build reconciliation where there are still some egos to manage and other issues relative to those who are disappointed in the primaries, and then to assure that a future-led Mahama government will deal with growing youth unemployment. You saw it when he met the artisans and the garages at the industrial area in Wa. He would tool them, he would equip them, he would provide the resources for the training and the skills. And that's just going to be a Wa Upper West issue. They are dotted around every part in the country, and that will be deployed to our advantage. As for road infrastructure, we heard about a bridge, we heard about complete an E-block, we heard about a girls' dormitory, we heard about upgrade of a polyclinic into a cheap compound into a polyclinic. These are all matters that, given President Mahama's remarkable record, you can be sure and proudly count on him. So we trust that the good people of the Upper West region will return the NDC with their contribution to power. Statistically, their vote margin have increased from 415,000 in 2016 to about 469,000. We expect that a substantial number of that must go in favor of John Dramani Mahama in the December elections.
Okay.
And then let me just serve a warning that the MPP has no monopoly over intimidation or violence, so they should stop just treating our young people the way they do. We are very, very capable of responding to it. We uphold a piece of it. They must work to uphold the integrity of the elections together with us, but will not continue the disrespect. When you have vigilante boys being recruited into the security agencies, it can be worrying. I was part of some UN panel which discussed this matter, and I've said that no, we would want to know who is deployed when on election day, and this time we demand that the security agencies update us as political parties as to who would mine with polling station, so that we can hold them accountable and responsible.
I think that's a very strong statement from the minority leader, and it's encouraging to Ghanaians in general. He'll be taking leave of us shortly. I will make a little comment about what he has just said and then throw it to Auntie Joy. So let's listen to the former president when he spoke to issues about building the TVET area, that's a technical vocational area, and then of course a message to artisans when he addressed some of them at WA yesterday.
How I wish I stayed. This TVET thing, it is not even a
That we're going to make technical vocational education training free from the lowest level up to tertiary level. And so for master craftsmen and others who want to go back to go and learn better and improve their skill, you'll be able to go back to technical vocational training centers and improve your skill in terms of the work that you do. We can integrate the training in modern automobile engineering in these technical vocational training centers, so that when you go there, you can learn that skill and bring it back to your workshop and give better service to people. And so we do have a very good program for the magazines and our engineers and mechanics, and I'm sure that come December 7, 2020, you will all stand behind us and vote for the NDC, so that the NDC can come back and implement, the development agenda that we had embarked on before we left office. I thank you very much, and God richly bless you.
You heard the former president. Let me take a few text messages, then I'll take your response to this area. This one says, Brother Eric, Ghanaians are wise now. Ni Gamu Pokwase, Ejapa is 419. And this was a message from Gamu in Pokwase. Another one says, I am J-Boy from Ntonso, Kwabre East. Mahama Afa, good job. This text message says, I'm repeating the same thing. This one says, good morning. Please, I'm following you from WA. We greet my father and mom for me. I'm sure you are referring to Joyce Baha Muktari and Haruna Idrisu. Please ask my father what they would do for graduate teachers from universities. I'm sure Joyce will address that when she speaks to the concerns about job creation. JDM is taking Ghana out of darkness into the light, and is directing the spirit of the dead Ghana back to life. And as JM is correcting his mistakes in 2016, we the citizen are also correcting the mistakes we made in 2016 by voting for Nana Akufo-Addo. This one says, good morning, I'm very much happy the progress the NDC is doing. One thing that I want Madam Joyce Baha Muktari to speak to Ghanaians about is Mama Help. The health minister is not an honorable person to buy drones and living in such areas. Please, I've been reminding those who watch us that this is for only WhatsApp messages, not for calls, because when they come in, they jam what I'm reading. This is almost the same with Adipa deal. I'm sure he's talking about the Ijapa deal. Please deal with this. The name is Abbas. The last one I want to pick before your comment is, good morning, Sir Efo. Please tell me, my able minority leader, that what are they doing to Ghanaians who have already given them the nod? The results will come and NDC will win. MPP has spoiled our party. From Jafet Kwesi Azim, Jasikan Oti region. Joyce, briefly, let's look at the the issue he spoke to about TVET and then artisans and how to empower them.
Yes. Well, you know that for quite some time, Ghanaians have actually been grappling with challenges to do with jobs, job creation. There's a huge youth bulge, and I will take you from where the Honorable Haruna Idrisu left off. What we should be looking at, and I remember a beautiful story years ago when I studied in Israel. 2 young students in a very famous university had built a software for transportation in terms of cab rides, taxi, etc. That is what birthed the Uber that we all now speak of across the
I never knew.
Yes. The government receives a certain quota of every amount of money that the software makes. And the university itself built an endowment through the introduction of that software. So the whole world now is looking for innovation. As my mother says, you can never reinvent the wheel. All the things that we are experiencing today are things that have been there for many, many years. What we need young people with a certain skill set. I remember trying to find a young paralegal who could type, who could use legal software, etc. And it became a challenge. Many of them queued up to be interviewed, but only a few of them were skilled enough for the particular service that we required. And it is these little gaps that have generated this huge disparities in our ability to sustain people in employment. That they are even giving allotments to develop their own warehouses.
What is happening at Kumasi Magazine?
And he also explained that the challenge is to do with persons having to pay to undertake these apprenticeships. So imagine that the state now absorbs the cost of apprenticeship and pays a certain small stipend to the owner of the industrial park. What it means then that there will be a certain quid pro quo. No, it is the reason why in some jurisdictions family businesses have thrived. They have thrived on long traditions of apprenticeship. Persons who make private shoes, who make belts, who build leather bags, you notice that they are very small businesses, family owned. But the number of apprentices they have is actually encouraged by the support they receive by way of tax incentives and corporate tax reductions from the governments and countries in which they operate. I believe this is the model that President Mahama has in mind for industrial parks and their creations. Note that there is even the Dawa Industrial Park which is coming up. It's actually an energy hub. President Mahama has promised also to fully implement that industrial park on the way to the Juapong area. You know, these are the things that not only create jobs but stimulate an economy. As we recover from COVID, we do know that this economy currently is on a downward spiral. We can tell that the so-called proponents of democracy, the advocates of democracy, what have they done to further that democracy? We have seen for the first time that media freedoms are under attack. That when CSOs criticize them, they send their attack dogs out to face off with them. Then when they realize that they have hit a wall, what do? They come back and try to get their buy-in. If the finance minister, for example, regarding the Ejapa deal, knew that they were eventually going to have to be forced to sit at the table and negotiate or discuss or explain to the traditional rulers and of course the CSOs, what were they waiting for all these weeks? Processes have a way that they start, because you do start through negotiations, you start through engagements, you start by way of even selling the idea to the good people of Ghana, who will be the biggest losers or beneficiaries. The questions you should ask is that when it comes to technical vocational training, what has this government done since the NDC left office? When it comes to apprenticeship and training, what has Nana Akufo-Addo and his government, what have they done? When it comes even to continuing with the general infrastructure projects that benefit the good people of Ghana. Indeed, when you fall sick today and you go to the hospital, it is not about NDC or MPP. It is why we must ensure that primary health care comes to stay. And for you to achieve primary health care, you need to vote for John Dramani Mahama.
I wish I could stay here with you for 2 hours, because one of the text messages that just came in, I saw it pop up, was that they are enjoying you and we shouldn't stop, but we have to go. Now, you are virtually campaigning for John Mahama. Why do you think I should vote for John Mahama?
I believe that John Mahama is a quintessential gentleman. I believe that he's a unifier. I believe that he's a very peace-loving person. I also believe that John Mahama has a great vision for what the Ghana we all desire should look like. And when you look at his record from the past, I am not saying that in any way that John Mahama's administration was a very perfect institution. It is a human institution. And like all institutions, there were some challenges, and I believe that he himself mentioned that he has had time to reflect deeply on his time in office. But despite the few fallouts that we had, today, when you juxtapose the record of President Mahama on largely all the key indicators, take for example corruption. It was one of the bases on which we were hounded, and Ghanaians were convinced about the perception or perceived corruption in government. Today, Transparency International has spoken loudly that John Dramani Mahama and his administration did a lot more to stem corruption than Nana Akufo-Addo has done. Okay. When you look at all the key indicators in terms of poverty alleviation, the poor have gotten poorer and the rich have only gotten richer. And now we know who is getting rich. It is just the few people who form the Family and Friends Club in Ghana. Okay. So certainly a litany of reasons,
I know if I give
a
you
raft
time
of reasons. Even on the economy that we speak to, ask the good people of the Upper West region. Did they not feel more comfortable under a Mahama administration? The E-blocks that were being constructed and dotted across the country had local construction people.
I've charged you up, but let me put
so there is only one person who I believe has enormous dreams for the Ghana we all wish for.
Thank you. Unfortunately, I went to trigger an action, and I'm begging for retraction. My best friend, Malik, our cameraman, who has been showing you all the beautiful things you watch on John Mahama's social media handles. Today is his birthday. If you know him, show love. That's what I can do for him. Mine is by word of mouth.
I say we thank you for your
Where are we going today?
You know, today we have an equally long agenda. We'll be doing all the way to Sasala East, Olu, and all the areas in that direction. So certainly a long day, but a journey that we
thank you.
And I have enormous respect and great love and affinity.
And now I now know why you are smiling throughout.
So
thank you very much.
I give them all my very
Auntie
best
Joyce.
wishes. Thank you, Eric.
Yes, and that's been the morning update on TV XYZ and Wezo TV. Throughout the day, keep watching our handles, because we bring you live updates when the former president speaks, as he moves around to some of the places he'll be visiting. I will beg my producers to take 4 more text messages before we wrap up. This one says, my regards to Honorable Haruna and Joyce Ba Muktari, and when is JM coming to Boku? This one is coming from AB Fuseni. Good morning, Mr. Host. Please tell Mahama and Mama Joyce I need her contact. Naim from Boku. God bless her for the good work she's doing. This one says, Inshraba Anelka from Ashaiman. JDM knows he can never win December's election. John and Jane think we are fools. And it goes on to say, the NPP under Nana Akufo-Addo has delivered a positive task, and Ghanaians will reward NPP. Last one before we go, it says, I can give you names of ex-convicts who are landguards and are now national security, sponsored by Howard Kumsin, an MP for Gomwa East. I can't verify this. It's text message that came in. Thank you very much. Tomorrow morning, 7:30, we are back with the morning update. Make sure you don't keep your attention off Wezo TV on Facebook and YouTube. My name is Eric Ahianyo.